Alrighty, we are back with insider betting. We're back at the sphere, or not at the sphere. We're back at the Apex this
Yeah.
weekend in Vegas. We have a decent card on our hands. We have Brandon Royval taking on Tatsuro Taira in the main event. But anyway, we'll get into all that in a second. Jesse, you're back from Paris, or from Europe, I guess I should say. You were more than just Paris, but appreciate having you back. How's it going, bro?
It's great. I'm refreshed. I'm happy to be back. I missed last week, but you had a nice little conversation with Kalen Loughran's brother. So he filled in nicely. So, I was a little worried that they weren't going to have my normal like hot takes, but no, he did well. So he filled in nicely.
He did. He went with Aldo, which I think you would have done the same thing. So he jumped right into your footsteps there.
Yeah, except we interviewed Mario Bautista. Mike Owens interviewed Mario Bautista. So I don't know. I might have picked Mario just to be like friend of the channel, but he's
Fair
not
enough.
he's not winning over UFC fans right now, to be perfectly honest. So maybe it's better that I didn't go with Mario.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll
Yeah.
say you would have gone with Aldo.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's as always, we don't really talk about the prelims, but sometimes there is some fights worth talking about. So one of them would have been Chris Barnett versus Junior Tafa, but I believe Chris Barnett pulled out yesterday, so that fight's off.
Much to the chagrin of a lot of fans. Pretty devastating because he's a big fan favorite, and so it's like his third straight fight where he's had to pull out. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since he's fought, so no,
Yeah.
definitely pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we do got Themba Gorimbo on this card, who we enjoy talking about. He obviously comes with the wholesome background story of, when he was struggling, The Rock kind of helped him buy a house. He's been on a tear since. I believe since that happened, he's won 3 fights straight. His last fight, people were a little disappointed. It went to decision. It was a bit of a boring fight. I think his coach went through a mourning, and Themba felt that as well. So I think you mentioned it to me, but I think he broke down in the cage after in the post-fight interview a little bit. Yeah. But he's fighting Niko Price. He's minus 345 favorite. So pretty big favorite. He's, like I mentioned, on a 3-fight win streak. Niko Price is 2 in his last 5, beating Alex Morono in his last fight, who we will be talking about later this episode because he also fights this weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a 3-1 favorite for a reason. Price has lost 5 out of his 7 losses have come by knockout. I don't necessarily see Themba knocking him out just because Niko Price is durable besides all the knockouts. But yeah, I think Themba is going to continue. I think he's got a much better ground game. I think he's a little bit of a more technical striker when it comes to it. You'll see he throws less, but I think when he lands pretty well. I think he's going to take advantage of his ground game, and that's how he's going to pull off the win. But yeah, I'm going with Themba to start off this card.
Yeah, certainly looks like Niko Price's path to victory is going to be a knockout here because Themba is going to probably wrestle. Just based on everything that I'm looking at here with like his previous fights, Themba's going to try to control the time in the octagon, and I do think that Niko Price struggles with that a little bit. Not that he's been submitted a lot, but I would say if I'm a betting man, Themba by decision feels like the best bet right now. And yeah, Themba's averaging 4 over 4 takedowns a fight, and those are mainly 3-round fights. So
yeah,
that's pretty good. So I would imagine this is going to be going to the ground a lot. So I'll go
I think we're going to get.
I haven't looked at the odds on that, but that would be my my bet.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think it's going to be a boring decision win again, but you know what? You can't blame him. He's kind of working his way up the ladder. It feels like Niko Price might be a little bit of like that gatekeeper in a sense for him to kind of get a ranked fight in the division. But yeah, no, boring win for Themba.
He doesn't take any strikes either, and Niko's a striker, so I don't know if that could be like matchup based or what that is, but Themba really doesn't take any strikes, it looks like.
Yeah, no, not many. I think it's just because he plays on the ground so much that the opponent doesn't really get that much chances to
Yeah.
strike against him. But anyway, before we move on to the main card, we do have a special message from our friends at DraftKings.
We'll be back to the video in just a second, but first, the NFL season is in full swing, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with our friends over at DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to bring you all an amazing offer, where right now, new DraftKings customers who sign up using promo code Inside Fighting can bet $5, receive $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Beautiful. Look at that hotel room background there, hey?
Yeah,
Or
my normal
Airbnb.
set.
Oh yeah, that was
Using the natural lighting
there.
of the like right in front of a an Austrian church. There was a lot of like reflected. They use so much gold over there on everything. So the sun is just like reflecting off of like these gold. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use that as my natural lighting. Turned out okay. Turned out right.
Hey, quality looked great there, dude. I won't blame you. But yeah, no, sports are at full swing again. Like we got the NFL's back, NBA's back, NHL's back. Those $200 bonus bet offers are fucking unreal for some parlays.
And baseball's playoffs are going on, and which is a nightmare for me right now, but for other reasons. The Dodgers are getting their asses kicked right now, so but still fun to bet on.
Yeah, exactly. You can bet on them getting whooped, eh?
I'll bet against them, and maybe they'll actually win.
Yeah. It's like a win-win, right?
Then it's a
Either
win-win.
you win money or your team wins.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Anyways, opening up the main card, we got Abdul Alhassan versus Josh Fremd. His last name looks like a typo. I'll be honest, I don't know much about these guys. I did do some research. Sounds like Josh doesn't really have anything that stands out of like on him. Like you look at his stats here, and he's just like mid when it comes to everything. Abdul, though, he's got 12 knockouts in his 12 wins, so he's pretty crazy. He's got a little bit of a judo background, from my understanding, as well. So he does have some sort of like MMA specialty, I guess you could call it, where Josh doesn't. Josh is also coming off of 2 losses in a row, where Abdul's coming off of a no contest with Cody Brundage for some illegal elbows there, which were very illegal. But anyway, I think this is more of like a statistical pick, but I just see Abdul just being better at absolutely everything. And I see him getting the win here, probably by knockout, considering how things have gone for him, but we'll have to wait and see on that part.
Yeah, and I actually really like the odds now that I'm looking at it. What's funny, he's a -166, but on DraftKings he's a -110 to win by knockout. And that was my immediate thought, was to win by knockout. So you might have to like double chance it, like KO or decision might be the way to go here. And by the way, if people don't remember, the Cody Brundage no contest he was absolutely piecing up Brundage in that fight, like really beating him up badly. And then, yes, he did throw, it was either a legal elbow or a knee. I forget what it was, but fans thought that Cody Brundage quit on the stool, that because he was getting beat up so badly, and that Alhassan seemed pretty pissed about it. So I do feel like he got a little bit screwed in that fight, even though, yes, it was technically illegal what he did. But, that's neither here nor there. I'm taking Alhassan all the way. I love the money line odds on him. And I think that the dude is like a really, really, really good striker. Even though he's older, he's 39. Holy shit. I did not know that.
Yeah, he's been in the game for a while. Yeah, he's old. I actually went and double checked that because I thought it was weird too, but that's what it said on UFC.com. I didn't Google it, but if UFC says it, I'm sure it's somewhat accurate there.
He fights like a young guy. I mean, he's a great striker. So I would, I like the odds.
Yeah, the size difference is pretty crazy though. Josh Fremd's 6'4" versus 5'10". Like that's a 6.
That is wild.
There. Yeah,
that is wild. I mean,
the reach is somewhat similar.
But it just seems like this might be a striking fight just based on all the stats. And I just think, I don't know, maybe I'm misreading Josh Fremd here. Maybe he's the high value underdog and I'm just not seeing it. But I like Alhassan in this one.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Anyways, next fight of the night. This is probably the biggest fan favorite fight of this weekend. We got D-Rod versus Alex Morono. Alex Morono is actually a plus 170 underdog, and D-Rod's a minus 205 favorite, which is kind of crazy considering he's coming off of 3 losses to Kelvin Gastelum, Ian Gary, and Neil Magny. Alex Morono, he's actually coming off of a loss to Niko Price, who we covered earlier in the episode. Morono, on the ground, he's far superior to D-Rod when it comes to kind of striking. D-Rod takes that advantage. I think Alex Morono is probably a more talented fighter than D-Rod. He just kind of doesn't do what he's good at a lot of the time during fights. He kind of throws that out the window, which is kind of what we saw against Niko Price, because he definitely should have beat him. This is one that I don't really want to. It's a great value underdog because I think Alex Morono should win all day, every day, considering D-Rod's recent form. I just don't know if he's going to come in there and do what he needs to do. I think he needs to keep the fight on the ground. I think he needs to avoid the stand-up. And yeah, we'll just see if he's willing to do that. And if he is, then I think he's going to get back in the win column. But yeah, it looks like he's kind of been bouncing back and forth. He lost his last fight. He won the fight before, lost before that, won before that, lost before that. So he just keeps tossing back and forth. He can't get a winning or losing streak going.
Right. I'm looking for like fight props in terms of like significant strikes in this fight because I have a feeling this might be standing a lot. Not a lot of there won't be any takedowns from D-Rod, that's for sure. He's that LA street boxer. This does feel a little bit like the UFC doing D-Rod a bit of a favor in the fight style, just because of what happened in his last fight against Kelvin Gastelum, where Gastelum clearly had no intention of ever making weight. Totally screwed D-Rod over, used that to his advantage. Pretty bush league stuff from Gastelum in that last fight. It worked for him, but yeah, I think fans were pretty upset with how that played out, and D-Rod might be getting a little bit of like not like a gimme, because obviously Morono's clearly a live underdog here, but just in terms of like the fight style, this is not going to be a situation where he's going to get taken down a lot and being wrestled a lot. I like D-Rod here. I think D-Rod's due for a win. I do agree with you, though, that Morono, out of all of them on this card, might be the best underdog odds that we're going to get on this card, with the exception of maybe the main event. But I don't know. I just think D-Rod throws enough volume that if Morono's not trying to take him down, I could just see D-Rod landing more. I think he's a better boxer, and I could see him winning by decision. Which was a plus 150, and I don't hate that bet. But again, I agree with you. This is a tough one. It's kind of a coin flip in my head, and Morono might be a better value pick. I don't know, but I like D-Rod. I just like D-Rod a lot. I just want him to win. This might be more my heart in my head. So I am.
I
rooting
know.
for D-Rod here.
I know. Yeah, I think D-Rod. I'm the same way. Like I'd love for him to win, but I think it's Alex Morono's fight to lose, in a sense. You know,
D-Rod just throws a lot of volume. He throws a ton. So like,
you can see here 7.42 per minute. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So if he can avoid getting like truly caught, I do think that like it's going to favor D-Rod as the fight goes on. But Morono might be just you might be right. I don't know. This is my least confident pick so far by far.
Yeah. Anyways, our feature fight of the night, we have Grant Dawson versus Rafa Garcia. Grant is coming off of a win to Joe Solecki, and he lost to King Green the fight before that. Rafa Garcia is also coming off of a win to Clay Guida. I think the fight should stay on the ground. I think both of them are kind of specialists when it comes to that. 8 of Rafa's 16 wins have come by submission. I think Dawson can be a little chinny. If he gets caught by Rafa, it could be game. I just don't know if Rafa is going to be throwing that much. But yeah, I see the fight going to the ground. I think Dawson's probably going to pull it out the bag here as a 4-1 favorite here.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because they kind of seem a little bit like similar style of fighters. They like to go like takedowns. Rafa's got better takedown defense, it seems. But I also think some of that might be because guys aren't trying to take down Dawson all that much, just because he's such a good wrestler that he's not. That they don't see the path to victory by taking him down. That could be, those stats can be misleading sometimes. So, I just think Dawson's like if this is a wrestling fight, I would pick Dawson. I think Dawson's one of the better wrestlers in the division. And like this guy was, if he beat Bobby Green in that fight, we were talking about him being like a couple fights away from a potential title shot. He's working his way back now. Yeah, I think Grant Dawson will be competing. Like he'll be a top 10 fighter before we know it. And I like him in this fight. I would bet decision though, if I was going for it. Decision or submission? Yeah. I'll go with decision.
Yeah. No, but you're right about Grant. He was on an 11-fight win streak with a draw in there before losing to Bobby there. So yeah, no, he was definitely on his way up. He's restarting a little bit here, but if he gets the win here, I think he'll probably get a pretty decent, probably a ranked opponent for his next one, I'd assume. But
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Our co-main event of the night, we got Brad Tavares versus Jungyong Park. This has actually been my biggest toss-up of the card. I was leaning pretty heavily towards Jungyong Park just because I thought he could do better. Like I thought he could take him down. I thought he could fight him on the ground. I thought he was like I think he's a pretty complete fighter. I think Tavares is probably going to go to, if he wins, he's going to go to decision. The only reason I'm actually leaning towards Tavares, who's the underdog here, is his 81% takedown defense. I think he's going to be able to stuff a lot of Jungyong Park's takedown attempts, keep the fight on their feet, and kind of take it from there. But that's kind of how I see it played out. I think he's going to go to decision. I think he's just going to kind of piece him up, just like you kind of mentioned with D-Rod and Alex Morono. I think it's going to be a very similar style fight in that sense. And yeah, I just think he's going to win in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I love this matchup. I really do. I think this has like fight of the night potential right here for this card. You're going to see some Park hits hard. Tavares, he's got that Hawaiian heat. He hits hard too. Out of all of them that I've seen so far, like potentially ending in a knockout, I would say this is like the most likely. Although I haven't looked at how many knockouts does Park have? Do you know? Jungyong Park.
All his wins are pretty split. I think it's like 6 knockouts or something like that.
Okay. I mean, he's got such a great nickname, the Iron Turtle. I mean,
he's got 5 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 6 decisions.
Yeah, I just have a feeling this one's gonna be a finish, whoever wins this fight. Although Tavares too, a lot of decisions.
Yeah, that's why I was also leaning knockout, but the last time there was a knockout in a Brad Tavares fight was him getting knocked out.
I was thinking of Punahele Soriano. That's why I mixed up Brad Tavares with Puna Soriano. Both Hawaiian fighters. Yeah, I still like Park in this fight. And I think the money line is like decent enough to take him. But that's mainly just he's a younger fighter, newer on the scene. Tavares has been through a lot of wars, man. So I could just see Park kind of winning on that alone. But
no, that's fair. That's fair.
Park's
been hot. I mean, he lost a pretty close split decision to Andre Muniz last fight. So otherwise he was on a win streak. But yeah, not a bad pick. Again, biggest toss up for me, this card.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I could see a submission happening here because I do feel like Tavares is susceptible to the submission.
Yeah.
So I would consider a bet on Park by submission.
Yeah, exactly. Like I only see Tavares winning this if it stays on the feet. I don't. If he gets taken down a bunch, he's gonna lose. I think.
He doesn't get submitted a lot.
No.
So I don't know. This one's tough to call, man. You're right. This is a really tough one to call.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I like Park.
Yeah, sounds like we're split. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Main event though, Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. I think I picked Taira to lose against Alex Perez, and then as soon as I saw them starting to fight, I regretted the decision immediately. And I don't think I can do the same this fight. It's tough because Brandon Royval is obviously extremely experienced. He's coming off of a win to Brandon Moreno, who's extremely respectable. But I think Taira is the more complete fighter. I think Royval gets a bit of the advantage when it comes to striking, but I do think Taira can strike. He's got 5 knockouts, 7 submissions, and his 16 wins. So he does pretty well. I think he's the significantly better fighter when it comes to being on the ground. So just based on that, I think he's just his more completeness, I think, makes him the favorite to win, in my opinion, even though he hasn't fought matchups like Royval has.
No, I agree. I do love the odds for Royval just because when you're talking about a number one contender, a guy that just fought for the title, a guy that just beat Brandon Moreno, who has a win over Kai Kara-France, I believe. I mean, Royval has he's run the gauntlet at flyweight, but this one's tough to call. I'm not saying that I would consider a bet on Royval just because of the odds, but I would say that like maybe the odds are a little bit. Maybe Taira is getting a little bit too much credit for that last win simply because that was like an injury to Alex Perez's knee that caused the end of the fight. That wasn't like a clear, ass whooping by Taira. It was he clearly was winning the fight, but he did win by his knee getting bent up underneath him. So we didn't get. I guess what I'm saying is there wasn't a lot of closure with the way that fight ended. That being said, I kind of just feel like Taira is on this like he's destined to get that title shot, and he wins this fight, he's going to get it. I'm just interested what's going to happen if he does, because Kai Kara-France just got the knockout win against Urseg, and now you have this fight. I'm picking Taira, but do you think the UFC would jump him to the front of the line over a guy like Kai Kara-France, who just got a spectacular knockout win at 304? What was it, 304, 305? 305.
Something like that. If Tatsuro Taira beats Brandon Royval, there is no doubt he gets the shot at the flyweight championship. I think Kai Kara-France needs to work his way back up a little bit because he was on a bit of a losing streak, I think, or something like that. And then he got that comeback win. I forget exactly where he's at with things. But I think being 24 years old, he would be 17-0 at that point. I just don't beating the number one contender as well. Yeah, Tatsuro Taira deserves a title shot if he beats Brandon Royval this weekend for sure.
Yeah, you're probably right. And also, everything is prisoner of the moment. Like I would say, like a month ago, I would have said it's Kai Kara-France, but there could be a reason why the UFC hasn't announced it yet, because they might be waiting to see what happens in this fight. Like we might see a Royval versus Kai Kara-France. If Royval wins, we might see Royval versus Kai Kara-France for the next shot. Or because like, does Royval get it if he wins? He just fought Pantoja. So like, would he get it if he wins? I don't know. It's a close call, but either way, I like Taira a lot, and I think that the flyweight needs a guy like Taira, and I think Japan needs a guy like Taira. I think it's a great thing that they have like a guy that could be a potential superstar in a division that's really devoid of superstars. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this fight, to be honest, because I want to see how far Taira can go, and I think that he's like a good tough matchup for Pantoja. So I'm split on this. I am leaning Taira, but like I do feel like Royval's an absolute live underdog here.
I agree. There's the flyweight division is actually a lot more interesting than people think, because so Kai Kara-France was on a 2-fight losing streak, and then he beat Steve Urseg. So he's kind of back in the talks, although he probably needs 1 or 2 more wins to get back in there. But then you have this fight. So if Tatsuro Taira wins, most people will be on the same page that he deserves to kind of move ahead. But the person that people forget about is Amir Albazi, who's fighting Brandon Moreno in Edmonton this November. So that's on November 2nd. So about a month from now. And Amir Albazi, he's also on a winning streak here, and arguably more impressive than Tatsuro Taira's winning streak. He's beaten Figueiredo, he's beaten Kai Kara-France. If he beats Brandon Moreno, his resume is better than Tatsuro Taira's, in my opinion. And it would be hard to go against him. But the fact that Tatsuro Taira beats the number one guy, you'd assume he'd be kind of ranked number one to get the title shot, and then it would be Amir Albazi.
Yeah, so I guess like my only counter to that would be is we just actually interviewed Royval. Mike Owens interviewed Royval, and he was talking about Taira and why this fight made more sense than a fight against Amir Albazi. And I think that he actually made a good point. I mean, in the last fight that Albazi had before he got injured, because I think that fight with Moreno was a reschedule. So
Yeah,
because he got injured, it was a very controversial split decision where a lot of people felt like Kai Kara-France actually won the fight. I agree with that. I watched it live. I thought Kai won. It was close. I could see it going both ways, but I did think Kai eked it out. But what the point Royval was making is that there's no hype behind Albazi. And
correct.
in a division that needs some hype, there's way more hype for a guy like Taira, which is, to me, says a lot about why the UFC put him up against Royval as opposed to putting him up against Moreno or Albazi. Because I feel like that in their eyes, they're seeing this as like the clear next guy. So as I'm sort of like thinking this out loud as I'm thinking about it, and I just think that Albazi might have a little bit more of a hill to climb than Taira does here, because Albazi's like, he's a really good fighter, just not as exciting, not naturally as exciting as a guy like Taira is.
Yeah. Well, they each got a fight scheduled, so I feel like the UFC is going to wait to make a flyweight championship fight till like second week of November to see how both of these fights end. Because who knows? Maybe he goes in there and he just destroys Moreno, and all of a sudden Albazi is an exciting fighter.
Right. No, I mean, that's what he needs to do it, I think he needs to do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not that he
but
won't
I think
get
that's
a title shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of like who gets the next one, I guess is what I'm saying. It's like he would have to like really do something special to get the next one.
I agree. I think a 17-0, 24-year-old is as exciting as it gets in the UFC's perspective. It's their next superstar in the flyweight division. So, and I think people are kind of tired of Pantoja, so they're looking for someone to dethrone that
probably
guy and keep going there. But anyway, that kind of sums up the card. We didn't have any parlays today, which I know disappointing for some, but honestly, as you see from this card, a lot of these fights can go so many ways that I honestly, like, there's some weekends where it's not worth betting. And I feel like this is one of those weekends. There's too many toss-ups, even though the odds might be pretty spread out. I think fights can go either way a lot of the time. So I decided to go no parlay because I don't know. Not everyone needs to do parlays.
The only one that I was thinking, like prop bet that I was thinking, is the Moreno Rodriguez fight. So if like you could find one like over under significant strikes on like total significant strikes, that's the one I would consider. I would consider taking the over in that fight, because I don't see a finish happening, but I do see like a lot of contact being made in that fight. So
I agree.
That's the only one I can think of. But I agree. I kind of don't want to put money down on any of these.
Yeah, they're all 50-50. But anyway, as always, Jesse, it's been a pleasure chatting, brother.
Yes, sir.
We'll be back next weekend for UFC 308, which is going to be absolutely massive. Unbelievable card. But
it really is.
We'll catch you guys.
It takes place at like 11 in the morning in Los Angeles, which is wonderful for me because I get to like, when it's done, I get to go out at night. So it's great.
I know. I love the early cards as well. I think like Paris was sick,
I know. But normally they don't do that for pay-per-views, but because it's Abu Dhabi, I think that they're following the Saudis rules, or Abu Dhabi, that's not Saudi, but they're following the Middle Eastern rules on this one. So
I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure, brother. We'll chat again next week. Cheers.
Peace.
Peace.